Welcome to Sampstra Games, the place to find new strategy games, and today we're gonna play a game that I'm super excited to play. So I played Transport Fever 1 before I got this channel. I have over 100 hours in that game. It is just amazing. And today we're gonna play Transport Fever 2. So first of all, a big thank you to the developers for giving me a key. And this game comes out on the 11th of December. You can buy it on Steam, or if you'd like to support me at no extra cost to you, you can also buy it on Humble Bundle. Now we're going to be playing a free game because that's where Transport Fever 2 kind of shines the most. So let's do it. Now we can pick between temperature, dry or tropical vegetation. So we're going to go with dry. And we're going to pick here some some kind of a seed, so why not pick Sampstra game? And I'm having like the second lowest level on canyons, mesas and ridges, the highest water and the second highest on forest. Medium map, 1-to-1, very high amount of cities and a medium amount of industries, so we get 15 towns and 72 industries. If you don't know what Transport Fever is, it's essentially a transport game where you kind of build public transport for people, and you also transfer cargo from one place to another, and you try to make as much money as you can. Now you start off at 1850 or whichever starting year you want. We want to start off at the beginning, which is 1850, and we can pick between 3 types of vehicles: Europe, USA and Asia. I'm going to go for Asia because that's the only thing that's not in Transport Fever 1. Both Europe and USA is an option, Transport Fever 1. Now, after this loads, I'm going to rename some of the cities by my patrons, so thank you so much for supporting me, XMX and Salty. But I also want to ask you guys, like, if you have any ideas for some good names for cities, like something fun, interesting, I would really be interested in that because we're going to make a longer series in Transport Fever, and I really like to sort of give some sort of a story to different towns depending on their name or on stuff that happens there and things like that. I had like a Beautyville, was like a city in my previous game. It had a whole story or why all the beautiful people live there and etc. And I want to make something like that with us together in the Let's Play. So any kind of a cool idea for a name you have, write it down in the comments and I might name a city like that. Alright, so we start on this very beautiful map. So how do you decide where you're going to start building things? So each city, as you can see over here with, for example, Taiwan, each city has some goods that they like. So here they would like some goods and machines. For example, in, let's say, Phnom Penh, they like some food and some fuel. And then you have different industries, as you can see here, and each industry produces something. For example, this thing produces oil. Here you need to get iron ore and coal, and you can turn it into steel. So you want to look at what kind of cities want what, and then look at the industries that you can provide. And we want things that are fairly close to each other. For example, here, as you can see in my XMX Oil City, they want fuel, and you can get fuel from oil. And in order to get oil, you need to get crude oil, which you can get over here. So this is a really good setup because we can get a lot of oil very quickly towards XMX Oil City. But first thing we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be doing like passenger lines. We're going to create some sort of carriage connections because at this point we have horse carriages as a form of transportation to make us a little bit of money so that later when we set up the train line, have something to fall back on in terms of money. So we're actually still going to start it off with public transformation. Now, how do you decide which cities you want to connect when you're talking about like public transport for people, for passengers, not cargo? So explain cargo, how do you do that? Well, you click on the left top where you can see overlays, and you click on the destinations, and the destination essentially tells you where people want to go. So at the moment there's no public transport, so people will be using private transport. So I'm going to pause, but I'm going to show you in a second. Now before I show you, I need to talk to you about how the time controls work in the game because it's pretty important. So we have the normal time controls here, like pause, normal speed, faster speed, etc. And then we have this next thing. This is the date on the right bottom, which is a different setup. And the date is important because as time goes, people invent new types of vehicles, which is implemented in the game. So we start off with horse carriages, but later on we're going to get like cars and things like that. And Also, some, let's say, vehicles will become deprecated. Like, people don't use horse carriages now to move from, I don't know, New York to San Francisco. Okay, so for those of you in America, or from Paris to London, that's over water, but that's irrelevant. The point is that, that was a bad example, but never mind. The point is that eventually you want to use better vehicles, so as the time goes, some of your vehicles you will no longer be able to buy because they will be like too old and you don't want to do that anymore. That's how it was in the last game as well. There were some mods, or actually not mod, there was like a setting that allowed you so that you can always do the old stuff, but yeah. So what they've done here is they allow you to change how fast the date speed goes. So for example, if you want to go through the dates fairly quickly, you can increase the speed, and quickly it's going to be in 1860, etc. What we're going to do is we're going to set this to pause just for a second, and then I'm going to set it to a quarter of the speed. But right now I'm going to set it to pause so I can show you. If I turn on the time and then I click on these destinations, you're gonna soon see some sort of blue lines popping up. So I have started a time. Let's see if we could find some blue line anywhere. It doesn't have to be next to XMX City, though. I like it there. Okay, so we can see some over here. And this means that people are using public transportation to move from Hanoi to Tainan, or from Jakarta to Tainan. Now, if you zoom in, you can see the numbers, and this is telling you like how frequent this is or how many people are there. So we want to start off in XMX City. So we want to be looking like, where are people going to from XMX City? So we can see that this path down here has numbers like 2 and 2, and here it's like 1. So more people are going down here to Pongaing than there to Celtic Ranch. So this can tell you like where you're supposed to build the cities, the connections. If you'd like, I'm actually going to build the connection in both directions, so it doesn't particularly matter. But I just wanted to show it off so that you can see the different things. So this is kind of like, I'm going to set this up to a quarter of the speed now, which is what we're going to have during the kind of game. And we're going to start up actually making connection between XMX City and Celtic Ranch anyway, even though you normally should have done it down here. And the reason for that is because, like I said in the setup, I want to give different cities different names, but I don't quite know what names yet. So I don't want to make connections, because every time you make, for example, like a stop, it will, like a bus stop or a depot or something, it will name itself according to like the closest city. So you don't necessarily want to create a lot of new like stations and cities if you know you're going to be renaming the city, because then you're going to have the old names in there, which is not really exciting or interesting. So I'm going to start this off by creating a carriage connection between XMX City and Celtic Ranch. So let's start this off. First thing we gotta do is we gotta create some sort of bus station. I mean, even though we don't have buses yet. Now, what I like to do, though it's not completely necessary, is I like to build sort of like a bus station a little bit like outside of the city, and then have sort of like a separate line that's just focusing on the inside of the city. So people can move within the city if they'd like, and then they go to this sort of special bus stop if they want to go elsewhere. So we're going to do that here in the XMX City, and we're going to build one here on the Celtic Ranch. So we're going to place one over, I think we might go a bit further here because we might just connect this downwards. So let's go like that. Then we need to build a depot so we can buy the necessary vehicles. Let's place it over here. Like that. And then I'm going to create the top. So first of all, I want to connect it up like this because I like to make sort of like a circle in the city. So I think we'll go like that. And maybe this way. It's actually pretty expensive, 54,000. So let's just try to build it a bit cheaper. Yeah, that was better. Now let's go build some tram stops, or bus stops I should say. So we start off over here, and then we can move some stuff between. Now every time you see this little white, that means that the houses or buildings are in range. So we're going to place one over here, for example. Actually, I'm going to place one already on the beginning. You don't need to have as many stops as I have, but I do like to have a lot of stops just in case the city grows and then they become useful. Build one over here, let's say, and then we're going to go back. And we're going to create our new line, our very first line, from here like so. And we're going to, it's important that you name your lines properly because you're going to get a lot of different lines, so you can get easily confused. So I like to write R because it's like a road, Then P because it's passenger row. Then I like to write CC because it's a central city, so line. So it's just within a city line. It's not connecting any other cities. And then I like to write the name of the city, which in my case is Celtic Ranch. So we're going to call it RPCC, Celtic Ranch. And that's it. And then we're going to buy some vehicles. We're going to buy Troika, which is this little vehicle. We're going to buy, let's say, 3. And we're going to put him on the RPCC Celtic Ranch line. Now. And we're going to watch them go. Look. We're going to open and we get these beautiful carriages coming out with these 3 little horses in the front. And they're going to start moving towards their destination. See, these 2 are going, this one is going in the station, this one going to straight through. I can click on this, and then you can follow from a close distance the vehicle, which is amazing. And look at how beautiful this game is. It looks really, really good. I love these little sort of like, you know, cactuses and the rocks. It looks really good. Imagine that you just like look out outside of your city and this is what you see. It's beautiful. And we can move, we're moving to the industry part of town, so you can see these little industry buildings. I'm gonna stop off over here, try to get some passengers, but there are none. They're coming to the stop though. I see so many people walking. It's so cool. So these are the sort of private transport vehicles. So because we didn't have any public transport, the people are like, we're just gonna walk there ourselves. Now look at these little sort of names of different buildings, like on shops and commercial buildings. That's really, really cool as well. I like it a lot. This is an incredibly beautiful game. We could just like drag this out forever. You can also click here and look from the point of view of the actual like vehicle. So you can look like this, which I think is really cool. Especially like this if you're going with the trains or maybe even with boats. You can just like look at from real close up, which is amazing. Oh, look at that little canyon there. That's amazing. On the left we can see this, and we can see the horses like this. Look at that. Ooh, look at this. You can see the woman is sitting up in the front next to a little guy there. And we can look at our little city in the background. Just quickly take a screenshot, okay. Very, very nice. Alright, so we started off, we are kind of carrying the people around, allowing them to move to the city, but what they care about is the connection with XMXO City. So let's first up connect XMXO City, and then we'll create a connection between the 2 cities. So we're gonna create, I don't know, let's go like this. Over here. The tooltip was saying that you can destroy things. I just want to destroy things, I want to build things. And maybe... Actually, we might want to create like a big circle around the XMXO City. That could be fun. Well, not like this. That looks kind of ugly. But like maybe... like that? Yeah, that's okay. And we'll connect it up this. Make sure that you don't destroy any buildings when you're starting off because it's really expensive. Like you can also see like $500,000 to destroy a building or something like that. So you really want to watch out for that. Now we're going to start off with the stop maybe in here so we can take most people, and we're going to go around on this little outside area. And it doesn't really connect up to that many stuff yet, but it will eventually. Gotta make sure we have kind of everything. So probably have one stop kind of close inside so we can take up the thing in the middle, and we're gonna stop over here. Now we should be able to connect everything this way, I believe. Yes. Yeah, we do have the things in the middle, don't we? Yeah, this one's taking a lot of stuff. That's good. Alright, so it kind of connects up. Very important. Good. So now let's create a new line. From here to there and all around the place. Through Nikolskaya Street, Van Goofing Street, Atul Grove Lane. Interesting. And let's just name it properly. RPCC, Cemex Oil City. Off we go, and we're going to buy some. Now we need to build a depot first. So let's do it. And then we shall buy some vehicles. Let's buy again. We'll go, I think, 4 maybe. And we'll put it to RPC 6MXO City. And then I want to create a new line between Xemex Oil City and this one. So between Salty Grange Branch, ooh, I love the name of that stuff. That's fantastic. Salty Grange Branch and Lower Xemex Oil City. All right. And we're gonna call this RP because it's road passenger. Xemex Celtic, I think is like the easiest way to name it. Celtic Branch. It should be Xemex Oil City. Fine, I'll name it properly. Oil City. Off we go. Now, how many do we buy? I think we're gonna start this off with maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 vehicles, and then I'm gonna show you some really cool stuff. So, just gonna let the time go on like this. We can go on medium. Oh, right, so we can go on medium speed. So, first thing I like to do is I like to space these cars out. So there are a couple of ways you can do that. First of all, you can click on any vehicle and you can tell it to reverse it, so it can go in the opposite direction, which can help you in spacing them out. But you can kind of say, like, once they're, for example, moving a bit further, you can say, hey, I want you to kind of turn around, go the other way. But another way to help out with spacing and with other things is if you click on a line, you can determine whether the line just goes to the stop and take whatever is there, or whether it waits there. So what we're going to say is towards this big line between Xemex and City, we're going to say wait until you're fully loaded with the maximum of 1 minute. So if within 1 minute you do not get a full load, you're just going to leave. But otherwise, and this is going to give you a spacing of 1 minute between the vehicles. Essentially, unless there's like a big line, then they go faster, but then that's okay because the people want to move, okay? Now, next thing you can do is you can click on this little button over here, which shows you line statistic. And this is probably the most important, aside from your actual money balance, like screen of the game, I would say. You can see our lines here, and you can see a lot of important information. First of all, you can see the balance. Currently, all of the balance is negative because we just started. Then you can see frequency, which is very important. For example, we can see here that the Xemex Oil City and Celtic line is 4-minute frequency. However, the lines within the city has like a 2.5 minute or so frequency, so you'll probably want to add up more to the Xemex Oil City, but it's a between city line, so it doesn't have to be that fast. But you can do different calculations there. Like, for example, if you know how many people move back and forth between some two places, so you know how much cars you need, so you can do some really good calculations here. And then, we can already see that actually RPCC Celtic Range is already making money. That is really cool. And here you can see how many people or cargo the line is using. So for example, you can see that the Xemex Oil City and Celtic Range is fairly empty. So it's like, maybe we don't need more vehicles. A Celtic Range is getting a bit more filled up, so then we would like more stuff, etc. Now, next up, let me talk to you about the money we have here. So you start off with actually none of your own money. You start off with 5 million loan, and you have to pay interest on that every month. Now, in the previous game, you had to pay the interest at the end of the year, so you could do a lot of different tricks, like, you know, you would pay off all the debt on the December and then loan it again in January, etc. You can't really do that here, so you want to make sure that you repay as much as. So I'm actually going to repay quite a bit, simply because it's going to allow me not to pay such a high interest from the get-go. Now, if you look at the destination which we started off with, which is this little thing, you can now see that a lot of it is getting green. So people, when they're moving within the Xemex Oil City, they're starting to use the public transportation instead of actually like using their own vehicles. And you can also see there's a little bit of green over here. So some people are starting to use our public transportation to move between the cities, which is exactly what we wanted. That's very, very cool. And you can already see that we have some people waiting here. This little lady, Kim Yoon Young. You can actually learn more about people. Click on details here. She lives in Celtic Range. She goes shopping to Celtic Range. And she, I guess, industrial buildings, I guess, is where she works. She works in Xemex Oil City, and she tends to move to the work with lines. But to the commercial building where she wants to go to buy stuff, she goes by car. So another thing you could do is you could, for example, look, okay, where is this building? It's right here. And then you could click back on the lady. If I don't lose her accidentally, okay, you can also pin her here. We could look at the details, and we could look like, okay, so we know where was the building again? The building was here, okay? And where does she live? She lives here. Okay, so there's no line between these two places, right? So obviously she doesn't want to like drive all around the city, but it could be like a good tip, like maybe we want to make something like, I don't think this is really worth it because it's very close and there's really no need for that. But you can look at people this way and kind of decide, okay, it's what I'm gonna do. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this, okay? So we have our first vehicle grabbing these people and it's now filled up. Look at that. And you can see it's completely filled up. We have a lady in the front and I guess those are 2 women? I think so. In the back, kind of waiting. And we're driving off into the world. Let's just drive off a bit more, just a little bit. Look at this. This is just such a beautiful place. Let's look from a first person point of view. Oh, we're just running through desert. Everybody's... Oh, and look at these horses. Oh, they're going so fast. It's like race horses. We're the fastest horses in the world. Now we can say hello to the opposing. Hello. It's actually, it wasn't even like a public transportation, it was a private one. You should have stopped that man and punished him. Like, how dare you not use my public transformation, sorry. Apparently people get transformed during the transport into mindless zombies that follow my will. Sorry, wrong game. We're not aggressive here, we're very nice. I don't know. Alright, so but we have a lot of people waiting here, which is very, very good. I assume that most of these people want to go onto this big line, so let me just check. Actually, they're not filled up here, but I think we could put one more vehicle on both of these just to get a little bit of extra, a little bit of higher frequency. So I think we're gonna do that. Let's buy one more vehicle and put it on the Celtic Ranch. And over here, we're gonna buy one more vehicle and put it onto Sampstra City. Yeah, we have people waiting here as well, so that's really good. Sampstra City, let's go. You're wondering why it's called Oil City? Well, next episode we're gonna set up our train line. You will fully understand why this is called the Oil City. Now, by the way, if you hover over this, you can see the different lines, and you can see that we have 2 different entrances to the line, to 2 different lines, and they're both going to a different stop. Now, eventually you can, of course, have 3 or 4 lines, and they will share the stop, but in that case, they have to wait till the next one kind of moves away. So, I mean, in one way, it's kind of obvious, but it used to be pretty important, especially in Transport People 1, that you set it up correctly, because if you had it on the same line, and we're like waiting forever, especially since we have this little setup with the big line between the 2 cities, that they have to wait a minute until they get full. So that would be a big problem if you had a different line going onto the same stop, that line would have to wait a minute as well. So that would be a really, really big problem. I do like this sort of like roundabout road around the Sampstra City. I think that's really cool. We can look at these little buildings over here. This is just like such a beautiful... And what I love is these little sort of names on the commercial buildings, so like you can see what kind of shops, what do they sell there, and etc. I think we're gonna end the first episode here, and then the next one we're gonna set up our first train city. We're gonna do an oil line for Sampstra City and give the city some fuel. So I'm really excited. You can click on the right top to watch it, or you can click on the right bottom to watch my train arrives. I'll see you there. Bye bye.